You want to let us, oh, I see it. We're good to go. All right. I don't think there's anybody new but Nancy, since I mentioned before, with the legislative update happening at the council meeting on Tuesday, there hasn't been a lot of movement between now and today. A lot of the movement is happening right now. So we don't have updates there, but we will continue to keep council updated as much as we can. But today should be relatively short, with Sarah kind of having most of the conversation. There was a lot of Front Range passenger rail excitement, and then excitement around the transportation bill. But before we dive into that, I'll just do a quick general update on some of the bills. One thing that really made the news this week was there were two tax bills that were dropped. It was House Bill 211311 called income tax, and House Bill 211312. It was introduced on the 10th and was scheduled for today in House Finance. So moving fast. They were introduced by the Democrats, and it's a pair of tax bills that could result in some of the largest ever tax breaks for small businesses and families hard hit by the pandemic. And it would be some of the biggest ever changes in tax breaks for high income wage earners and big businesses in Colorado. The number on these bills are still in flux, but they are estimating the impact to be around $400 million right now. So big bills, they just dropped. And as you know, we're into the last part of the session. So it'll be interesting to see how they moved. The sponsors, again, are Democratic led, and they are all members of the Joint Budget Committee. So we anticipate to see this moving forward. It is a follow through on Polis's commitment that he made in his State of the State address back in February. And so essentially it eliminates the business personal property tax for small businesses. And then it doubles the earned income tax credit, providing up to $600 in tax credits per child for up to 200,000 families in Colorado. So in your update today, you'll see there's an article to the Colorado Politics that has covered this, and we'll continue to monitor it. But like I said, it just dropped, and it's being heard today for the first time. Next update on Senate Bill 21173, which was the rights and residential lease agreements. So it was making those changes about late fees and giving rights back to tenants and not being turned over to the courts right away. It was scheduled for a hearing yesterday, and there were some amendments that we haven't been able to process. So we'll digest those and provide an update on the next legislative update. We talked about House Bill 211030, which was expanding peace officers' mental health grant program. So essentially this provides community partnership grants for officers to have access to mental health programs. If it does pass, we would anticipate some local funding to allocate towards our peace officers and providing them mental health support. It did pass on earlier this week, I think on Tuesday, but it is not scheduled yet in the Senate. So we anticipate that one moving through. Another one to put on the radar was House Bill 211110. That was the Colorado laws for persons with disabilities. And so it strengthened the state discrimination laws for individuals with disabilities. And then it also increased access on the internet, right? So it put on the Office of Information Technology to increase how we interface with individuals with maybe visual impairments, for example. We are monitoring that because we don't know how that will trickle down and what the local impact would be if they set those standards, and then how we make sure our website complies with that. I will say for the most part, our communication team is amazing and ahead on a lot of this stuff. So I think we'll be okay, but we will continue to monitor it. It did pass out of the House 2 days ago, and we're just waiting to see where it will be assigned in committee work for the Senate. Sharon's not on here, but I will mention House Bill 1117, the Promote Affordable Housing, which we've been following for months now, testified on. It was officially signed by the governor yesterday, which is very exciting. So again, a lot of things that Broomfield is already doing, but it helps put it across the board. And again, promoting that affordable housing, which we all know is a crisis all across the state and across the nation.
And doesn't it protect our own ordinance from legal challenge to being a state requirement now? Does it help protect ours?
It gives them another target to attack if you're going to attack after the state statute rather than a local ordinance.
Okay.
It's more, Guyleen, it's more of like a diversion if you're going to go down a particular path, but it doesn't necessarily afford us any more because we're home rule and big benefits with that.
Sure. Good.
Great. The next one was House Bill 1162, the management of plastic products. I know, Guyleen, you brought this up originally and with Fort Collins and what that looked like. It did pass through the House, and it's already scheduled for the 18th in the Senate State Veteran and Military Affairs Committee. So we'll keep watching that. There has been some amendments. There's concern about the impact on school districts because they use those single-use containers and how much it will cost them to replace or go to recyclable or compostable containers. And so that's where I think there's being a lot of work right now. And we anticipate there will be an amendment around that, but it is moving forward. So 518 will have an update to see how that does in the Senate committee. And then let's see, the last one I wanted to just talk about before passing it on to Todd for elections was Senate Bill 21200, which council passed a position of support on earlier this week. I'm sure you saw the article, but if you didn't, we'll put it in the weekly update. Colorado Politics has been covering. There was a rally on Wednesday. I'm not sure if you saw it. They took to the steps of the Capitol to challenge the governor about his threat of vetoing the bill. And he came back with some even stronger words. I was going to take some of these quotes so I don't. He says it's a top-down requirement and hard cap bill that would essentially give this unelected board, the Air Quality Control Commission, near dictatorial control of our entire economy. And he kind of continued on saying, yes, I would veto it. I'm not willing to give that authority over our economy to one unelected board that lacks the broader mandate and expertise. So I know there's been a lot of momentum around this. Again, now there's rallies behind the bill. There's a lot of support behind the bill. We have now Broomfield support, and we'll continue to see how that mitigates between, or the compromises between, the governor and the legislature. So we'll share that article with you. It's a pretty intense article. I think you will all at least enjoy reading. And then, sorry, I do have one more around criminal justice reform. We've talked about, there were two bills kind of moving forward around that were in response to Senate Bill 217. The Republican-backed one has pretty much stalled out, but House Bill 1250, which is concerning measures to address law enforcement accountability, is moving forward. It's scheduled today. I tried to check this morning and haven't seen any updates on that, but we will have an update on that one. I'm sure it will be in the news here shortly, depending on how it goes today. So no, we are monitoring that. And then, Guyleen, I know you had asked about the chemical restraints. Let's see, where did that go? On a person around ketamine. It was passed yesterday and it's scheduled for floor work today. So we'll continue to monitor it. There are a lot of concerns from the chiefs, fire chiefs about the bill. So we'll keep seeing. I anticipate more amendments. And then there was some swirls around House Bill 1244, which was restrictions on collection and use of biometric information. The police force came out right behind it saying, please do not pass this. It was postponed indefinitely yesterday. So that bill is officially no longer moving forward. Otherwise, those are the big bills that we've been tracking and the updates with just since Tuesday to today. I'll pass it over to Todd to go through the four big election bills.
Right. Thanks, Danae. First off, House Bill 211011, which is the multilingual ballot access for voters who speak English less than well, passed out of the Senate on third reading yesterday and will proceed to the governor's desk. House Bill 1071, which is the House bill concerning ranked choice voting, passed out of Senate State, Veteran, and Military Affairs, unamended on the 11th. Senator Winter announced that she planned on amending the bill in Senate Finance Committee to fund the bill out of the general fund instead of out of the Colorado Department of State cash fund. We do anticipate a few other amendments when it hits the committee of a whole for the Senate. 1071, the ranked choice voting bill, has CML and CMCA support. Both testified in support of the bill on the 11th. Then the last state bill I have to chat about is Senate Bill 21250 concerning elections and voting. This bill passed out of the Senate on May 12th as amended. It will be heard in the House State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee on Monday at 1:30 p.m. Recent amendments 3 and 5 to the bill reduce the Colorado County Clerks Association fiscal note by 30%, so that should give it a much better chance of passage. There's broad support on this bill from the Colorado County Clerks Association, America Votes, New Era, and a number of voter advocacy groups. The fiscal impact of this bill will be minimal for Broomfield because we're already at or above the minimum standards that are being codified in this bill. The big change is the Senate Bill 1, the For the People Act. Senator Manchin of West Virginia has pulled support of the bill, which puts it in real jeopardy at this point. He believes that he wants to put his support behind the John Lewis Voting Acts bill. We do not have a version of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act for the 2021 session for the 117th Congress, but I have included a link to the 2020 version if there's much interest. It will be fascinating to see, quote unquote, how the sausage gets made on this one. There's, broad support within the Democratic Party, but without Senator Manchin, it would be difficult to get it through the Senate. And that's it for election bills. Thanks, Tanae.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. Before we move on to transportation, any questions on the general bills? Well, I'll pass it to Sarah. There's some fun updates.
Great, thank you, Danae. So we wanted to provide an update on the SB 21-238 Front Range Passenger Rail District. It passed second reading on the Senate floor on Wednesday, the 12th, with many of the amendments that the Northwest mayors and commissioners were advocating for. So this was a lot of work done on behalf of the MCC, in particular Boulder County and City of Boulder policy staff working on those details of the amendments with the bill sponsors. So specifically, the majority of the themes were incorporated, and I'll just kind of go in brief what those amendments are. Requiring that, subject to NEPA, that the alignment of the northern segment of Front Range Passenger Rail will be the Northwest Rail Corridor, acknowledging that these environmental studies still need to happen. Requiring that the district will prioritize the construction and completion of the Northwest Rail segment. It specifies that at least one of the governor's appointments on the governing board will be from an unfinished Fast Tracks rail corridor, which is basically proxy language for the Northwest Rail Corridor. Increasing representation for the DRCOG area from 3 seats to 4, as well as the North Front Range MPO area from 1 seat to 2 seats. So increasing the representation on the north side of the Front Range Passenger Rail District by 2 seats. Provides a mechanism for the legislature to remove a director with cause, requiring that prior to going to the voters with a ballot measure that the district must establish a detailed financing, phasing, and funding plan that also identifies the route. It requires the district to report to the House and the Senate Transportation Committees annually, and requires an independent audit of the district every 2 years to be paid for by the district. It limits the authorization for public-private partnership agreements to construction only. No public-private partnerships are allowed for operations. And so given that this bill was dropped last month with very little stakeholder input prior to seeing this bill, we feel very happy that these changes were amended and that these bill sponsors were amenable to these changes. Any questions on Front Range Passenger Rail? I'll go on to SB 260 update. Councilmember Lim?
I read the article, I think it was in Colorado Politics, on the current conversation on this bill. I think it was just yesterday. So it said that Douglas and El Paso counties aren't supporting this bill and they would be in the district. So, I mean, obviously it's can go ahead without their support, because I think I read in the article that it had, when it went through the committee, it had 5 Republicans who supported it in addition to the Democrats on the committee. What's the thinking, I guess, that two of the main areas to the south aren't in support of it? I guess that's my question. I mean, if it passes, what kind of conversation, what kind of cooperation is there going to be going forward?
Thank you, Councilmember Lim. That's a really great question, and I don't think I have the full answers available to me at the moment, or where are the political nuances there.
Councilmember Lim, it's not unlike between the political push and pull of the kind of that ideological stance, right? So we've seen from those two, from the public health and the mask mandates to passing on some of the Sarah, they pass on the DRCOG dollars because they don't want to have the federal dollar and that's historic, right? Because they want to be independent. They do not want to be subject to how to use the funds, not unlike Weld County. So all the conversations that I've had, and of course, Sarah has a much deeper sense of the technicalities of it, but from an implementation perspective, that's one of the reasons that it's coming out of the state, because all of the conversations thus far with regard to regional assistance, it only takes one or two big ones, and Douglas County is huge, and they have a lot of they have I don't want to say influence, but they have a lot of folks working on a lot of different things, and so their voice is heard, and it's substantive. So with the state pieces that are in, to Sarah's comment, we'll have to see how it goes. But again, once the train starts moving, no pun intended, Sarah, people will get on board, really, whether they want to get on board or not.
Okay, so that kind of gets at my thought. Was it an ideological opposition, or was it really that they thought there's going to be no benefit to their counties of this, train going through their counties? That's what I was trying to get at the bottom of. Okay, thanks.
Right, you see both of the above.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. So Senate Bill 260, the sustainability of the transportation system. DRCOG provided a frequently asked questions, a 2 or 3 page sheet, which is included in their DRCOG board packet for next week. I provided a link to that PDF in your summary here. So you can kind of get the highlights about the transportation bill and the funding revenues and fees and where those are coming from and where they're going. The bill is up for second reading in the Senate this morning, where they're expected to have a very long debate given the Republican opposition, but it is expected to pass. Several amendments will be offered as a part of the debate, but it is likely that only those agreed to by the sponsors will succeed. These will focus on expanding environmental protections for communities affected by new projects, clarification that the projects in the CDOT 10-year plan will be funded, and some other technical adjustments. We do not expect any major changes to the basic parameters of the bill. As an update on the Regional Transportation Authority provisions, we've been told that this section of the bill is at request of the Metro Mayor's Caucus, and while several lawmakers have questioned the need for it, the sponsors and administration are defending it as a part of the compromise package. And I've attached a FAQ from the bill sponsors explaining their position on the concept. And once again, the regional transportation authorities previously were required to have 100% of the jurisdictions joined in, as well as there were some other provisions that your neighboring jurisdictions also supported you developing your own RTA, which is basically the ability for you to raise your own funds for transportation projects. Colorado Springs went ahead and did this many years back and were very successful in being able to fund their transportation priorities with it. With this bill, it will reduce the number of participants to be a 2/3 majority to be in the RTA, and it will go to all of the voters in that RTA. And even if a certain county, in the clarification of the FAQ, even if the county doesn't fully pass it, they're going to go by the number of voters in that RTA. So I encourage you to take a look at that FAQ, but this provides kind of an off-ramp or another opportunity for metropolitan organizations or other transportation planning organizations to raise revenues and spend it in their own areas. And so that is my update on SB 260. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Does anybody have any questions? We've inundated you with the transportation stuff, so it makes these updates much easier. Thank you, Sarah, for always being so thorough. One just little note I wanted to share then before we get off and everybody maybe has 30 minutes to go outside. There was an article in the Colorado Sun that I just wanted to share one excerpt from that said that there have been 11 bills this year that are focused on immigrants and improving access for our immigration population, and 4 of them have already been signed by the governor. So when we look at your council priorities, I just wanted to share that it's been a record year around diversity and access and equity in regards to past legislation, introduced legislation, and many being signed. So I thought that was an interesting statistic that I wanted to share with you all. And with that, that's all I had. Jennifer or Nancy, did you all have anything else to add?
No.
I just have a question today. So of the immigration reform bills, did the one pass that was kind of undo the 2006 draconian laws that were more strict than the feds? Did that pass?
I don't think there were 2 of them. And let me just check really quickly. Jennifer, you're shaking your head if you have that fast. One I know did not, and I think one is still moving through the chambers. Let me look fast.
It's on the tail end.
Okay. I forgot the number, but I remember people reaching out to me to support it.
I'll make a note of that, Guyleen, and I'll put that in make sure it's highlighted in the update that goes out, because I want to say it's scheduled for next week, but like I said, there were 2. So let me make sure I get the right one, and we'll get you that information in the legislative update and Jen's email today.
Cool. I think CCAT supported it in their human services committee. Pretty sure they took a support.
Yeah, good
It was
question.
around getting benefits, being able to get benefits and COVID relief. If that
Right. Yeah, one was where it would take away all of the rules. It was wide sweeping, and there were a lot of concerns with that.
Yeah,
and the
that's
other one was more focused, on just access to public services.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, let's just get the right one and get you the date on that.
It's been back and forth from Ledge Council to Approps, Guyleen. Every time there's an amendment, that domino effect, particularly with that bill, because it affects so many. It's not just the human services, but it goes to the Treasury, Department of Local Affairs. So there's a lot of different groups that every time they make an amendment, it tweaks. So Ledge Council goes back and forth with those finances constantly before it hits appropriation, so they know exactly what they're. My guess, though, Danae, is that they've got to be closing it down pretty soon to either go or no go, because the time is to be hitting all of those departments again it's almost exhausted.
It is crazy, right? The longest the session can go is June 12th. And so we're at less than a month, and then we have all the stimulus funding. And so the days are looking longer. You can see the exhaustion, more disgruntled people working on things. As we all know, right? You all know the 10, 11 o'clock conversations and burning the oil. So we'll keep watching, but I'll get that update. So thanks for bringing that up, Guyleen.
Except you guys do it every Tuesday and they do it for 4.5 months.
We don't recess.
Hey, there's an idea.
There we
go.
Recess.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to give you a recess today, and you get 33 minutes back in your day. So I hope you all have a great weekend. And if you have any questions, let us know. But otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Well done. Thank you very much, y'all. Have a great weekend.
Take care.
Bye.